Good afternoon, everybody. What's up, y'all? It's the Cryptid Huntress. Welcome into our wonderful Monday show. I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. Y'all know I did. We had a fantastic show Saturday night, didn't we? I had Mark Maycheck here, Cryptidville. I'm not sure if he's in the chat today or not. I hadn't even looked yet. But we talked about the dark side of chasing Bigfoot and Dogman, and we got into his experiences out in the land between the lakes, up in Kentucky, and so much more. And that was a wonderful show. I also caught up a little bit. I caught the audience up a little bit on my adventures this weekend. I couldn't really talk about it too much on Saturday night because I still had some guys out in the field who were there. They had so much more activity Saturday night as well. And I'm going to have those guys on my show. Maybe they'll come on this weekend. I don't know. I'm going to put it out there and see if they want to come on and talk about all of our experiences out there. It was intense with massive Bigfoot activity actually Saturday night. And so I'm going to wait and talk about it when they come on. Okay. And yeah, I've done some debriefings with Harley and with Drewski of Cryptid Warfare. And yeah, it was wild. And we had a wild time when I was there as well on Friday night. And wherever we were, this undisclosed location, it is freaking amazing. And so, yes, I was in the Smoky Mountains. Okay, somewhere in the Smoky Mountains and in Tennessee. And I know Brice and I got my good friend Brice here today, y'all, of Esoteric Atlanta. We've kind of thrown it out there. We want to do a little tour of like the Bell Witch Cave and go up to the land between the lakes. You know, our buddy Derek lives up there, and so we might be getting a little trip together one day, girls trip, and we'll go see some interesting spots up in Tennessee, because these places, man, they are teeming with cryptids, particularly Bigfoot and Dogman. So today we are actually going to be talking about at least one place that's in Tennessee. Man-made lakes, y'all. I've been kind of touching on this subject quite a bit throughout the past couple of years, talking about man-made lakes and the history that they are covering. Now, whether this is on purpose to cover up our actual history of the United States or let's just say North America, okay? And it was even before it was North America. But what is actually our true history here? It's not all what we've been told, and there has been, and it is documented in newspaper clippings and in the records of some of the universities that there were mounds, okay, and ancient Egyptian settlements, temples that were covered up by lakes like Lake Norris up in Tennessee. And we're going to go there today. We also are going to be talking about the haunted Lake Lanier. That is where Brice and we both live in Georgia. We're Georgia peaches. And north of us in Gainesville, Georgia, is a place called Lake Lanier, and we're going to talk about that as the most haunted lake in America, is what they say. And I've spent plenty of time out there on that lake, and now I don't know if I'll ever spend any more time on that lake, actually, after doing this research and locating a body or two through remote viewing. It ended up being in that lake. Okay, the bodies did surface. And we're going to talk about that today as well. I even have the missing persons poster of the person that I was tasked with remote viewing his whereabouts when he went missing. and I guess it's okay to talk about it now. I can tell you who he is because it's been a little while. It's been a couple of years. But that was one of my very first remote viewing high priority targets. I don't know if it was one of my first, but it was one of the most interesting ones, let's just say. And I was right on target with this one. And I even located where it was going to his body would surface. And that's where his body surfaced, y'all. Okay. So buckle up, y'all. We've got a wild ride today. And I've got Brice here. So let's get to it today. If you guys would like to follow along with all of my shows and check out my archives, go to thecryptidhuntress.com. I can also have a Patreon if you guys would like to support my work. Thank you to all my members at Patreon. And I have a shop called War Woman Goods. It's on Etsy. And thank you guys for all your support. I also will be at the Myrtle Beast Conference. It's a Bigfoot festival coming up in a couple of weeks, and it's going to be in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So if you guys are in that area, come and see us. I will be speaking about Bigfoot, of course, with a bunch of my friends there. And of course, in July, come see me at the Full Disclosure Now conference down in St. Petersburg, Florida, July the 15th through the 18th, I believe. Okay, well, let's get to it. All right. Okay, so let me give you a little overview of exactly what we're talking about today. And then I'm going to bring Brice up. Flooded over the top of the town of Oscarville, Georgia. In 1956, Lake Lanier has become one of the most dangerous bodies of water in America, with the remains of buildings just below the surface, ensnaring hundreds of boats and swimmers. Each year, more than 10 million people visit this lake out in Gainesville, Georgia. Even though it's one of the deadliest lakes in America, there have been close to 1,000 deaths at Lake Lanier since its construction in 1956. Now, 250 families or more, I heard it was like 700 actually, were displaced. Roughly 50,000 acres of farmland were destroyed, and 20 cemeteries were either relocated or engulfed by the lake's waters. The town of Oscarville was not demolished before the lake was filled, and its ruins still rest at the bottom of this man-made lake, making it the single most dangerous underwater surface in the United States. With the high number of deaths and accidents, it has a reputation of being cursed and haunted. From the encounters with the Lady of the Lake and hauntings by drowned swimmers whose bodies were never found. That's what people say. Now, nearly half of all the man-made lakes in America, or half the lakes in America, are man-made, by the way. And a lot of these lakes cover a very rich history. And when you do some digging, you see that some of these lakes are actually covering up some very key missing links to our history here in the United States. And is this done on purpose? Yes, I think it is. Okay, but so we're going to talk about this today. I do have my good friend Brice Watson of Esoteric Atlanta here with me, and she has covered this topic, I am positive, over on her wonderful YouTube channel. It is called Esoteric Atlanta. Brice is a yoga instructor and has a great, like I said, that great YouTube channel. We have had some adventures together, face to face, boots on the ground. We've done Bigfooting together. As a matter of fact, too, up in North Georgia. Please help me welcome to the show, Miss Brice of Esoteric Atlanta. What's up, Brice?
Oh, I'm loving this. This is just right up. I love the weird and the wacky, and I think most people watching also do too. And it's for most of our lives, we were the weird ones, but now we realizing that we were probably the right ones all along. So I love talking about this.
Isn't that right? I know. And when I was a kid, I spent, not even a kid, I'm going to say as a kid a little bit, but as a young adult, I spent a lot of time at Lake Lanier. How about you?
No, actually not.
No?
So my mom, speaking of Myrtle Beach, my mom's, half of my family is from Charleston, South Carolina. So we always went to the Low Country, even though I've driven by Lake Lanier, but I've never spent any time. My boyfriend's had paranormal experiences on Lake Lanier. But here's the thing, and something my boyfriend pointed out to me, because he's also a bit of a weirdo too. Jessica knows him as well. I have a really hard time being around man-made lakes. I get drained of energy. I can't stay awake. I get disoriented. And it was actually my boyfriend who said, and I don't know where he got this information from, probably the Cassiopeans, if I had to guess, that when you are sensitive to the paranormal, when you're an empath, or just sensitive to anomalies in nature, you are not going to be able to spend a lot of time around a man-made lake because it pulls your life force. It pulls your energy in order to sustain itself. Because what did we all learn from Moby Dick as a kid? Man versus nature. Nature is always going to win. And if there's not actually a lake there, it takes energy to keep it there. And so that the lake, then the body of water that has to pull from you. And if you don't know how to control that, or if you are sensitive, it is going to exhaust you. So no, I'm very weary about being around man-made lakes. And also because, listen, Jessica, when I was preparing for this show, I watched some people scuba diving Lake Lanier, and I was like, you idiots. I was like, who in their right mind would do that?
I would have a hard time doing that myself, because it's so creepy down there. I'm not sure if I pulled it up, but I had a picture of some scuba divers down there.
Yes.
I do. These are some, this is actually under Lake Lanier. They do have some, there's a lot of grave sites and things like that down there. I mean, they have full churches and steeples and walls and everything. I mean, this is a huge lake. And, something else, Brice, as you were saying that about how it drains your energy. they had to build a dam to create this lake.
The Buford Dam.
And that really does block the flow of energy movement. And so I would assume that has a lot to do with that, with the draining of the energy. Let's see.
And the funny thing about, ever since the way that this group, this nefarious group of people, whatever you want to call them, the establishment, whatever, the Illuminati, as I like to say for the YouTubes, for the trigger words of YouTubes, of course, for me, it's now the way they've constructed these things over the years is they always have a reasonable. That's creepy, isn't it? I'm sorry, but that is like, imagine scuba diving and that's what you see. I would want to get the F out of Dodge. I'd be like, take me to the surface. I don't want to be here anymore. They always create stories around why they're doing something. And at the time, the story sounds legit. But then now we go back and look at it and we're scratching our heads. Like, what do you mean? We know that I have in my notes here, because that's what we see this with Norris Dam, with all these I guarantee you there's so many man-made lakes around the world. I guarantee you it's going to be, regardless of what country you're in, there's going to be kind of the same story. And this started like for Lake Lanier in 1946, 10 years prior to the completion of the dam. Congress officially authorized its construction. So 3 years later, in 1949, the federal government gave the state of Georgia $750,000. That's about $9 million in today's money to create this. And they said it was for what they gave, the reasoning for them was that it was created for flood control and water supply, plus electricity for Georgia, Alabama, and Florida. So technically, Georgia, Alabama, and Florida have rights to the water. They considered it an inland ocean. The Corps of Engineers regulates and controls it to this day. So the government is still in control. The United States Army Corps of Engineers. Now, what's weird to me, Jessica, and I'm not a scientist, like we all, I'm not a scientist, but Georgia itself is a coastal state. It's a coastal state, and we have natural rivers and lakes in Georgia. So what are you talking about? Like, I don't understand. What do you mean? We've got water. Like, what are you talking about? I'm sorry. Like, what are you talking about? But it was also after the Great Depression, right? So it gave people work. It gave people, so there was this, but we also look at like the mud floods and like Tartaria and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, what were they trying? Because they created this story around America that I'm questioning a lot. Like, are we, like, I believe we're Egypt. I mean, Tennessee means the land of Isis. But they don't want us to know that. So, there's gold. Yeah. If you look at all the Egyptian, in the papyruses, they talk about this particular form of gold that they used in Egypt. Riddle me this, Batman. Why is that form of gold only found in the state of Georgia? It's not found over in Africa.
What? Are you serious?
In Georgia. I didn't know that. So,
oh my gosh. Well, I know we're going to get into Lake Norris in just a little bit here, but in the Grand Canyon, I just spoke about this not too long ago. I mean, we have all these, the Temple of Isis. We have what is that? The Cheops Pyramid and the Shiva Temple over there. And if you look at a lot of places like the Grand Canyon, like Pyramid Lake, also in Nevada, has a pyramid right there. And we're told that, it's just a rock formation, right? But are they?
No, I have a book. I should have. It's called Egypt in America. I gotta find it, but it's fascinating. Do you guys know that? Again, check all these, do all this research for yourself. The Egypt in Africa, they tell us in Egypt, has the least amount of pyramids and the least amount of Egyptian artifacts in the world. So they're laughing at us. They're literally laughing at us. They're like, these dumbasses actually think that that's Egypt. Literally, most of Egyptian stuff is found really in the Americas, is where we're seeing a huge onslaught of Egyptian mummies. I mean, look at the World's Fair. Didn't they try to take out some of the Egyptian stuff with the World's Fair too?
They did.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Lanier, I live, like, literally, I wrote it down. According to GPS, I live 38 miles or 61 kilometers away from Lake Lanier, and we never go. We never go there. And
I pass by it all the time. I pass by it, but I don't go there anymore. I haven't been in a long time.
Yes.
This is one of the pictures of I believe this is under Lake this. Oh, you know what? Maybe that's the Great Lakes. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. I thought that was the gravestones, but that's something different. Yeah, I haven't been there in so long, and it's so. When I was reading about Lake Lanier this morning, they said something that was so gross to me, and it said that that people who swim in it, and I started thinking back when I used to swim in it. It's true. They said it feels like jelly. The water feels like jelly and Jello. Isn't that gross? When you start thinking about all the bodies that have been in there and stuff, it's just kind of gross.
I wish my boyfriend was brave enough to come on camera because he's got some wild stories. His family owned land up in Gainesville, Georgia, when he was like in his late teens, early 20s. And I always say he's 11 years older than me. So, but so when I was a wee child, and yeah, some secret. I love that. Some secrets are drowned for purpose. Yeah, and he's had a lot of experiences up in North Georgia, and on Lake Lanier. He used to go out there and he would have some experiences. And I'm like, listen, at this point, I don't know if we would come back from Lake Lanier if we went up there because we're so aware of what's going on. And I wrote too, I don't know if you got this in your notes as well, that there is what they believe is a vortex at Lake Lanier, which makes sense. Vortex of paranormal. And it's around the Shoal Creek Church Cemetery. And it's some families, as you said in the beginning, fled and complained that their loved ones were not, like, they told people, listen, y'all, we know you got some loved ones buried here. We're going to trust us. That's the scariest. What did Ronald Reagan say? The scariest words you can hear is, hi, I'm from the government. I'm here to help, or something.
Yeah.
So the government's like, trust us, wink, wink. We're gonna exhume these bodies and rebury them. And they didn't. No, they didn't.
They got a few. I think they got a few. But I mean, there were at least 20, 30 cemeteries. Okay. And that's just the ones that were marked. Okay. Yeah. Marked cemeteries. We truly don't know our history. We really don't know how deep it goes and what all was in that land. Okay. Inside of it. And Caleb says, hey, Caleb, he says, man-made lakes were made to cover up the entrance to the Chicana or the underworld. And that would make sense too, actually. Entrances to inner earth, potentially.
Well, and we know the Cassiopeans talk a lot about the undergrounders. So that makes sense as well. And I think it was Bigfoot Long Island just brought up an interesting comment about Lanier meaning like wool. Well, we know they tell us that Lake Lanier was named after a poet named Sidney Lanier. And and I've questioned that as well. So it's interesting that Long Island Bigfoot put this up because, and this is what's weird, you guys, and this is what I stress. And I love your opinion about this, Jessica, because I do believe our history is not correct. I think we have been sold a load of crap, basically. However, I don't know where the crap ends and the truth begins. And when we think about the early 1900s, like one of my great grandparents passed away when I was like 3 or 4, and I remember him, Paul, and he was born in 1901. So I remember him, and obviously he had a childhood. He told my grandmother, who told her son, who told me. So I don't know when the mud floods would have happened or whatever. So with the Sidney Lanier story, I like what Long Island Bigfoot said, because I don't know. Sidney Lanier lived in the 1800s apparently, and he was a poet. He died at like 39, really young. We actually have a big monument. I live right off of Piedmont Park here in Atlanta, and there's a big monument to Sidney Lanier as well.
He was a Confederate soldier, I believe.
Yeah, he was. And so that's who they claim the lake is named after. But I will say for Long Island Bigfoot, as I was like going over my notes again, because it's been a while since that could be correct. But part of me feels like it's not. Like, I don't feel like, I like that what he said about water and the French word. We do know that there is wool. There's a lot of French heritage down here too. So I don't know. It's and yeah, that's interesting. Someone put up the comment about water being emotion. That is very true. Water it is emotion.
And you can close a portal with water, is what Dennis says. Hey, Dennis. He said you can close a portal with water.
Interesting.
I didn't know that. Okay.
I mean,
That's kind of cool. I can see it being a vortex for sure over there. And it's almost like a Bermuda Triangle in Georgia because boats go haywire. I mean, but here's another thing. Okay. And I'm going to pull these pictures up because this is what I know of Lake Lanier. And Brice, this is probably what you've heard if you hadn't been there too much. There's something called Cocktail Cove. And this is what it looks like today. And I know this actually the people like that might have been from like the early 2000s or 1990s. I don't know. But that's Cocktail Cove, y'all, at Lake Lanier. And this is where they put their boats together. Everybody's drinking. It is a party lake. And when I say it's a party lake, I mean this is party central. And so lots of boating accidents can happen, obviously, with drunk boaters. And people getting run over by propellers and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I had a friend of mine was at Lake Altoona, which is down the road from there, and she was with her family, her children on a boat, and a drunk boater hit their boat and went over their boat, and she broke her back, and the kid, everybody was hurt. It was wild.
Wait, Altoona is a fake lake too, right?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so. They've got dams. Yeah. It's wild. I've had conversations with people talking about the energy flow and the water flow in these dams. They're not natural, and it cuts off the currency of the land. Okay. Yeah. Gosh, there's so much symbolism in all this, Brice. There really is when it comes to these lakes.
Well, and if it's a vortex, I am of the opinion after studying the Cassiopeans for a while that we do have 50% of our human population does not have the upper chakras. They only have the lower chakras, which means they basically haven't earned a soul yet. And so you can call them non-player characters or whatever. So I do think that the powers that be look for particular areas of people to pull energy. You can't pull energy for something that has no energy to give. So I think they are targeting particular populations of people to pull energy from, because the darkness can't create anything. It can only take from the light and invert it. So the God-given energy of us with souls can be pulled and harnessed. And so if you I feel like I'm giving my energy away. So it's not only, it's like they're killing multiple birds with one stone, right? They're hiding up, they're hiding stuff, and they're also taking as well. Yeah. I'll tell you something interesting, and I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this, but nowadays, I didn't know this because growing up in Georgia, we would find like arrowheads all the time, like arrowheads from the Native Americans, and in your backyard you can find them. Do you know that now it's illegal if you find something like that you have to turn it over to the government? You can't keep it.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have any.
We never heard the la la la. Well, so what? My boyfriend,
I don't know what you're talking about. That was a rock.
Well, he goes to the Lake Altoona during the winter months when the lake is receded, and he'll go like off trail to try to look for stuff.
He looks for rocks. It's rocks. Sharp rocks.
Rocks. Yeah.
Right.
That's all he's doing is rocks. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
He's never found anything.
Yeah. Well, it's just like when we go to the battlefields, like in Kennesaw or Pickett's Mill or the Kennesaw battlefield, you cannot dig. Remember, we were at that museum. You and I went to that museum.
Yeah.
And the lady said, I asked, I was like, are these bullets real? These come off the battlefield here, and the cannon shells and stuff. She says, yeah, they're real, but they may not be from here. She said, it's illegal to dig for those here. And so I was like, well, okay. So if you were to go and spend the day and have a picnic at Kennesaw Battlefield, you found one, you can't keep it. You get in trouble for having it. One of those little bullets.
Does the government not know that there are a ton of third graders out there that have a room full of arrowheads they found in their own damn backyard? Like, this is insanity. Like, why all of a sudden are they stopping us from being able to take out, like, is it because people are waking up? Is it because people are starting to question reality? I don't know, but it's crazy. And so with the Altoona reference, I would not be surprised, Jessica, if people actually, now Lake Lanier is known to be kind of a party lake, like you showed that picture. It's kind of a party lake. So I don't know if people are actually looking for anything when they're there besides, a good time. But I wouldn't be shocked if you would find any type of artifacts around Lake Lanier too that would be a different story than what.
Exactly. Well, let's talk about the history of that land before, and I was thinking about that movie. One of my favorite movies is "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" Do you remember that movie? And of course, I love that movie. And in that movie, they actually flood the community out because they were building a dam and they were going to flood it out. And it was, I don't know if it was based. I don't remember if it was based in Georgia or maybe they were basing it on Lake Lanier. I don't know. I just remember all that hair grease, that hair wax that Dapper Dan kept floating through.
It's been such a long time since I've seen that movie, but what it reminds me too
Yeah.
is the Land Between the Lakes. We talked about that with Derek and how the people that live there actually fought back when they created. And it's kind of the same thing kind of happened with Oscarville. It was a little bit different, but yeah. Where do you want to start with that land? Do you want to go back as far as Native Americans, or?
Yeah, we can. Well, I was gonna talk about Oscarville, because that's kind of a big deal, y'all. Okay, if you guys have never heard of Oscarville, this is a town that had a lot of people. It was mostly, I think it was all African American people that lived there, and like I said, there were about the records will say, like, some of the articles will say 250 families were displaced, but I heard it was up to 700.
I think it's way more than what they're.
I do too.
I wrote in my notes the town of Oscarville was a sacrifice.
Oh gosh, it kind of could have been. I know that sounds horrible, but I mean, why else would they have picked this area and this place for that? Let me see. Here's a picture of the actual town right here. Okay, this is a picture of a lot of people. It just blows my mind as to why they would do that. But it's almost like that eminent domain, like even the power companies have today. One of my friends was a lobbyist for the EMCs here in Georgia and stuff. And I remember when she would tell me about how she would have to go, because I worked at the Capitol with her actually. And it was really sad with the power companies pushing for eminent domain and all that kind of stuff and having to get laws passed for. I thought it was wrong. You know what I mean? It's just wrong.
Yeah.
And for people who aren't familiar with what that is, it's where the government, the power companies, whoever it is, they can come in and just take your land. They seize it.
Yeah.
If they need, if they want it, and they can give you they may compensate you a little bit, but it's not what your land's worth. And you have to get off of it or they're going to plow right through your home.
Right. I remember learning about that. And like, I have this memory of the 5th grade, Mr. Muschamp's class in the 5th grade, him saying, if the government wants to come and build a freeway through your backyard, they're going to do it. So do we really own our land? Like, do we really that's why I hate the land tax, because that should be our land.
You never really own your property. You're always having to pay to the man. Okay. You got to put some money in the man's pocket every single year, or you'll lose your land, which is wild.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, Moondog says Land Between the Lakes. This is another place that they had the issue with the eminent domain, and they put the lake right there in between the lands.
That's crazy weird. I mean,
but that's a crazy story.
Interesting, isn't it? So interesting. And what a coincidence that where all these man-made lakes are, you got a shit ton of paranormal activity.
A lot of Bigfoot activity and Dogman activity. And
a lot of military, and they have to they're all owned by the government.
The Army Corps of Engineers takes over. That's right.
Interesting, right?
It's a big cover up, maybe. This is for entertainment purposes only today, everybody.
This is all entertainment.
Once again. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And let me say, Long Island Bigfoot said the eminent domain is so overlooked. Yeah, and it's really sad. And Kyle says Tennessee has more man-made flooded lakes than any other state.
How weird is that? Like that, do we not just common sense? Like, at what point did we, I know they're trying to allegedly take the sun away, but at what point do we think that we know better than nature? Like, nature knows what it's doing. Yeah, exactly. Prince, I don't have my glasses.
Prince Arcane.
Hey. Yeah. So I have by 1912, it was a black town called Oscarville. It was along the Chattahoochee River. So again, you guys, we've got rivers in Georgia, way down yonder on the Chattahoochee. There's a whole song about that, a whole country song about that.
It gets hotter than a hoochie coochie.
Yes. I'll let you take that part.
Yes. It was Jackson, I think.
Built by freed slaves. Okay. And they all worked in cotton fields. And they created this prosperous little town around the Chattahoochee River. Yes, and Kyle Smith, there were a lot of Indian burials. I have that in my notes too about the Cherokee. There are a lot of Indian burials there as well. We know that towns did make sense, right? A lot of towns do pop up around rivers just because that was the highway during the steamboat era of our history. But yeah, I mean, it's literally I'm in Fulton County, so it's literally right up the road, Lake Lanier, from where where, and I've worried about that, Jessica, I will say, because some people, there is speculation that with these dams and these big lakes, what they can do is open the dam. There is speculation that allegedly for entertainment purposes only, that when Helene hit North Carolina, they released some of the dams.
Mm-hmm.
So I've worried living in Atlanta.
Yeah.
If they release a dam, is it going to hit Atlanta? You know, like, I don't know.
Well,
But
it's like the levees just kind of broke during Katrina too. You know what I mean? Mysteriously. Yeah.
Whoops,
So,
daisy. Right.
It's all about control. Okay. It's all about control and land grabs too. Okay.
Yeah.
This is obviously a land grab, but it's a multifaceted issue we're talking about today, because there's also the cover up of our history. And I think that's a big one. Okay. That is a big one, because when we don't know our true history, I mean, what else has been covered up? Okay.
I know.
And
I know.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's well, I think I've told you before. I have this little book here that I got in a antique store in Connecticut a few years back. And it's an American history textbook from the I should actually let you look. I should give you this book next time I see you and let you read through it. It's from the 1800s. It's an elementary school history book. That I couldn't read it in the store. It was taped up, so I paid the $20, got the book, started reading it. They taught the kids a very, very different American history in the 1800s than I was taught in the 80s.
Oh, that's right. Because I have a history book right there where my finger is. That's it was written in the 1850s, I believe.
Yep.
And it even has like a Native American chief with like the headdress, like imprinted in the it's rising off of the leather cover. It's like beautiful. I love that book. And the history is just, you know, I used to think like, well, man, this is the true history, but now I'm like, that's not even probably the real history that's in that book.
Well, what's fascinating about this one is that they talk about how the Native Americans were all races. That they had white,
I've seen that too.
There were blonde-haired, blue-eyed Native Americans. There were black Native Americans. And my thing is like, we know I've been lucky enough to spend a lot of my adult life living in other countries, and people either really hate Americans or they really love Americans, but there's this whole like propaganda about stupid Americans. Well, I think they're doing that intentionally to try to destroy the mental and emotional health of the American people. Because I think there's something here they don't want us to know. They want the world to. I believe America is the cradle of life. I think this is where Mesopotamia was. I think the Mississippi River was the Nile. I think New Orleans is Alexandria. Maybe that's why they can't find Cleopatra's body, because they're looking in the wrong ocean. It's in the Gulf of Mexico, or America now, I should say. America. I think that there's just I think it's all flipped, and I think they don't want it for some reason. Bigfoot dwarf. I have a black friend who has done a lot of research into his own heritage, and he thinks most of his heritage was actually native and not from Africa. And so why would they try to destroy the emotional health of a nation? Well, we also look at a lot of the missing books of the Bible have been found in the southeastern part of the United States too. So are there missing manuscripts under these lakes that tell a different story? And we know that the Constitution of the United States is actually, you could find that in the Essene Book of Peace, which is one of the missing books of the Bible.
Whoa. Oh my gosh. This is all, it's just wild. And I'm glad it's being talked about. I'm just glad it's being talked about. I mean, if you go to Tennessee, I was just in Tennessee. Okay. And I have not been to, I don't think I've ever been to Memphis. I got a friend who ran a club out of Memphis. Okay. My buddy Daryl, he's in the chat occasionally. What's up, Crayon? Okay. He ran a club out of Memphis for a while. And I know they have, from what I've seen, I've read, I've seen pictures, they have like pyramid, like the Bass Pro Shop is a pyramid. Like a literal pyramid. It's like that glass pyramid. I would love to go there sometime. Okay. I don't know if the Bass Pro Shops, I love Bass Pro. Okay, whatever, but it's a fun place to go. But that's interesting. And they had like pyramids like that during the World's Fairs out in Tennessee as well. So,
well, and they say there's Old World Florida. I think that's the name of the YouTube channel. And this guy, I hope I'm saying is his channel. He's got some great stuff on Florida, and Florida has a ton of pyramids, and that's crazy because you think of Florida as being flat. Well, apparently there are pyramids under from the fall of Atlantis. Siesta Keys, which is right off of Sarasota. That's a little island, a key that has the sand is crystallized. It's the only sand in the United States that has crystallized sand, and they believe it came from. The scientists say it came from Appalachia. Then how come it landed just on this one key? Like, we think it came from Atlantis. And we try to go there as much as we can just to get soak up the crystals. But it's great. The more you learn, the less you know.
Exactly. And when I think of Atlantis, I'm always thinking, we're from ATL, girl. Okay, yeah. We're from Atlanta. We live in Atlanta. Well, I used to live in Atlanta. I'm outside of Atlanta.
I'm here in Atlanta.
You're still here with your Bucky shirt. God, I was just talking about Bucky's on Saturday.
This is from Warner Robins, Georgia. Bucky's
we're friends. You're over there wearing that. But I was talking about them. I was talking about that store on Saturday night on my show. Like, I love that place. It gives me anxiety, but they have good food.
It gives you anxiety. I always want to stop at Bucky's on our way to Florida because it's fantastic.
Oh my God.
Me too. Really good snack food and stuff. But I definitely, Atlanta, I've had that question before. Atlanta used to be called Elizabethtown.
Well, it used to be called Terminus too, as well. But
really?
It was called Terminus, yeah. And it was where all the railroads intersected right there in downtown Atlanta. And but it's Atlanta, like Atlantis too.
Yeah.
Like, okay, somebody knows something they ain't telling us.
I know. Well, so it's so funny. I've been looking at a Tartaria for a very long time, and my boyfriend just now has gotten into Tartaria, and he likes to go down to Piedmont Park. If you're in the Atlanta area, Piedmont, we do have a Central Park in Atlanta, but Piedmont Park would be more like our Central Park, like what Central Park is in New York City. And apparently they have like a World's Fair there as well. And so you see some of these old structures in Piedmont Park, and he'll go look at them, and he was like, this is from Tartaria. Like, this is not from a World's Fair. Look at the architecture here. It's crazy. Prince Arcane. There's a lot of filming, not just for Walking Dead, but there's a lot of filming going on. Stranger Things. Watching that show, I know exactly where they are most of the time.
Down in South Atlanta.
Yeah, well, and granite. Look at all the granite here. We have Stone Mountain. We have Arabia Mountain. We have huge granite mountains in Atlanta. And so Georgia, I saw somebody ask earlier. I saw someone in the comment section earlier asked, "Are there Bigfoots in Georgia?" We got everything in Georgia.
Are you asking Are you saying yes? There are Bigfoots in Georgia.
Somebody in the comment section asked if there are Bigfoots in Georgia.
Wait, somebody, do you watch my channel? You must not watch my channel. Who is this? Is this somebody new?
We got.
I'm just kidding. Thank you for being here today.
Georgia is a very fascinating state there's even, and this could be a totally show for a different day, but you guys, there's even I've been following the story about this highway in South Georgia where notoriously people slip in time.
Oh, where's that? What part?
I'll have to go back. I've been following the story. I will text you after we're done because I would have to go through there's all these stories that are now, and it's near Valdosta.
Okay. Is it Brunswick maybe? I mean, actually Brunswick is opposite of Valdosta down in South Georgia.
Closer to Savannah, going up towards Savannah, which is the coastal side. But on my mind's eye, I'm seeing it closer towards Quitman, and which is where my grandmother's family's from, closer to the Werewolf of Georgia area is where I'm seeing this. But it's off of I-75. It's an old. I'm gonna have to get all the information to send to you because there's some crazy. I mean, when I started my channel, I planned on just covering stories in Georgia, really, and now I cover everything. But because that's how many stories there are in Georgia. And North Georgia is Appalachia. It is the mountains. South Georgia is getting into the plainlands because it's going into Florida. We got swamps. It feels like a swamp in the summertime here.
It does.
But yeah, it's Oscarville. I guess we kind of got a little off topic there, but
we did. We can get back to it.
There's a lot. Did you get into all the 1912 when there were all these? There was a lot of race. They tell us. Yeah. Now, I even question the idea of race tension because we see them trying really hard to start that today. But it seems like a lot of people are resisting it. Thank God. Mm-hmm. But allegedly in 1912, and I don't know anybody alive today that was alive in 1912 unless you're a vampire. We got a lot of lynchings going on from this area.
Yeah. And there were people that were being accused of raping
Yep.
I think I can't remember the whole story. I've got it right here. But there were some young men, I believe, that were accused of raping a Caucasian woman. Am I correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And they were
Brice.
eventually, I believe they were hung, and like 5,000 people showed up to see it happen. And said that a white mob had invaded the jail and took the guys out. And I mean, it's just a really tragic story. And so that's part of the lore and the haunt of Lake Lanier, actually, is like the curse, like that cursed the land. Okay, it just added to the curse of all the, of them taking everybody's land and flushing the whole entire community out, literally. And oh gosh, it's horrible. It's just all that displacement there.
It's horrible. They even claimed that there was a group of Black men that formed a society kind of like the KKK for white people.
Mm-hmm.
And this could have, because they wanted, people were petitioning the government to declare martial law. But anytime we see this idea in my mind of martial, of the citizens wanting, it's like create a situation with a problem and then give them the solution. So are they insinuating, is this all being insinuated to try to create martial law? Mm-hmm. It's just very fascinating. But there was all this like crazy stuff happening right before. So this was 1912. So just a couple, decades before, the government gave permission and gave what would be the equivalent of $9 million. I mean, $750,000 back then is $9 million today. $9 million just to drown out a damn town and to create more industry.
Well, and to have a water reservoir there, of course. I just think that if you just kind of look at the progression of the cover up, of history's cover up, and with the floods and the Civil War came straight through Georgia, and Sherman burned everything. Okay, everything. It was so convenient, just so convenient. Turn around the buildings. Yeah, everything was destroyed, and it's really interesting how all that works. And then shortly after the Reconstruction and things started building, some towns were never reconstructed. Okay, some towns were just gone, and the people were wiped out and everything, including the town that my family lived in. And two of my great grandfathers, four of them, I don't know, all my great grandfathers fought in the Civil War. And some of them were taken off as prisoners of war up north and stuff. And the towns were completely wiped out. And
well, look at what happened to the women. One of my favorite shows to watch is The Dead Files. It's a homicide detective and a psychic that work together. And I love the history, but they talked about this in some cases in the South before. So back in this time, the women my mind's gone blank. One of my favorite writes about this. Old writers writes about this, but nonetheless, women in the South, the white women, would be on these big plantations or houses or farms by themselves, and the Yankee troops, the Union troops, would come in and basically pillage these houses and RAPE the women. I mean, just people often think Union troops good, Confederate troops bad. No, this was war, and they were brutalizing. So you think about all that energy that's left, the terror that's left over. I've told you, Jessica, I went to my elementary school, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. It's not there anymore. Was in an old plantation house right outside of Atlanta, where Sherman had used that. The story is Sherman used that house as a headquarters for when he was going through Atlanta. And he came into that house and RAPE'd the 16-year-old daughter, then hung her from the stairwell.
Oh my God!
Slaughtered the family. Just to take, you couldn't just kick them out. You had to do that to them too. And when I was a little kid, a lot of times, myself included, little kids will see her hanging from.
Oh my
that
God!
That was so haunted. Putting kids in there, and the kids would see her like hanging from the. The Union troops were not good. I'm not saying that the Confederate was good either.
None of it's good. I know. War is terrible. War is horrible. And, and even. Okay, so you're talking about like the residual haunting, I guess, of that. And that's part of the Lake Lanier lore, is like people feel like they feel like something's grabbing their feet and pulling them under when they're out there swimming.
That's what a lot of people say. Yes.
And so they say, some people say, well, that's the souls of Oscarville down there, pulling people by grabbing their feet and jerking them under the water. And so you got to be really careful. I've always been told, like, don't ever dive headfirst in the Lake Lanier, because you'll hit a sign, a steeple at a church, a tree, and people get entangled in these trees and in these. I don't know if they had power lines back then. I don't think so. I don't know. There's whatever's down there. They may have had power lines. I don't know, because it was it was only the 1950s.
1900s. Right? Yeah. So. Well, also you think about that with the residual energy. I mean, that's when we think about haunting, sometimes we always think that it's a conscious haunting, but a lot of times it's not. The actual person has moved, the soul has moved on, but it's like, you think about like poltergeist. Poltergeist is an energy that is created from a person, or it's a telekinesis, almost like energy created. So if there's a horrific event, like in Savannah, Georgia, when the stock market crashed, there was a guy who jumped out of a window. And every year on that date, people see the jumping. It's like a video recording. When the energy is so intense, when the anger is so intense, it will hold the energy in time. And so sometimes I think when people are feeling themselves being pulled down, it might not even be a conscious spirit that needs to just be moved on. It might actually be like more of a poltergeisty situation where it's a residual energy, because the terror was so horrific that it keeps replaying itself.
Oh my gosh, it's residual hauntings.
Yeah.
But my goodness, to get pulled down. I mean, my sister has a place on a lake out in Alabama, and I've told the audience before that I'm a little hesitant to go diving into that lake now, because I've done so many shows on the Kappas and different lake monsters, and in Lake Lanier too. But I mean, now I think that lake's a little cleaner than Lake Lanier that we go to. Not to say Lake Lanier's dirty, but they say it feels like Jello.
Yeah,
jelly in the water.
Being pulled down by some drunk dude.
Oh God, probably from all the Jello shots.
It's a party lake.
It is.
It's a party lake.
It
do you want to talk about the Lady of the Lake?
Yeah, let's talk about the Lady of the Lake, because we've talked about, okay, so the Oscarville tragedy. I'm going to call that a tragedy. Okay,
it's a tragedy. Yeah.
It's a tragedy. That accounts for some of the hauntings that happen there, according to people. But yeah, Brice, you know about the Lady of the Lake. Let's talk about the Lady of the Lake.
Listen, I've already said that when the day goes, I don't want to go in like a fancy way. I just want to like go in a normal way, because people who go in fancy ways, I'm trying to watch my words, because we know YouTube's funny about some words. So this was in 1958, you guys, when this tragedy happened, and that caused the Lady of the Lake. So that's like literally right after the formation. And it was two women named Susie Roberts and Delia Mae Parker, and they were driving across Lake Lanier Bridge when Susie reportedly lost control of her car. The women crashed into the lake, both drowning. Since then, people have seen the ghost of a woman walking around in a blue dress with no hands. 31 years after the crash, the car was finally recovered, and a year later, Susie was recovered in a blue dress with no hands. Now, here's the crazy part. Okay, so they say she actually pulls people into the lake, and I don't know why she doesn't have hands, but like, here's the crazy thing, you guys. I was doing further research on this today. Now, this was 1958. So these were two young girls. They were apparently coming from a dance hall down the road at a roadhouse. And apparently they had left the dance hall. They had stopped to get gas. As we say gas in the United States, I know our British friends say petro, but we say gas. And they didn't pay for it. They pumped the gas and they ran. Now that's either, because now you have to prepay or pay at the pump, but you could, when I was a kid, you could pump and then go pay, right? These are small country roads. Now there's one or two reasons why they didn't pay. One, they didn't have the money and they were just wanting to get away with it and get home. Or two, they were in a hurry and they needed to go. Mm-hmm. And that, with the missing hands, like what's that about? So what do you know about this, Jessica?
I don't know a whole lot about it, but people, that is one of the main haunts of this lake. In addition to that big old catfish that Scott was talking about, they claim that there's a catfish the size of a Volkswagen Bug car, huge, over by the Buford Dam. And Scott, what's up, Scott? He lives over there. He said, you'll hit a body or two. I've been diving in Lanier and it's not fun. So we actually have someone, we have Scott in here who has been diving in Lake Lanier before. Did it feel like jelly and jello in the water? That's my question, Scott. What was it like? And did you see any body parts?
I've had my fair share of paranormal stuff happen. I'm not freaked out with ghosts and stuff. I go running in John Bonet Cemetery on Wednesday mornings at like 3 o'clock in the morning all the time. I'm not scared of that. But if I hit a body in a lake, I think I would like crap my pants. I think that would be enough for me.
Oh, God. Look at this. Scott said a chicken truck drove off the dam, I guess, and the catfish were sucking them through the cages at the bottom. Well, that's why they're so big.
Isn't it? It's kind of notorious. These lakes. I mean, these bridges around there to have people just like sporadically drive their car off the bridge.
That's true.
I feel like with the Susie Roberts and the Delia Mae Parker story, which is the Lady of the Lake story, I just feel like there's more to that story that we're not getting. And I'm wondering, I think it's Caleb still in the chat. Maybe he would know more about this because she's missing her hands. Like, does that happen in decomposition? Do hands like decompose? Do they like?
It just depends, I guess. I mean, who knows? Something could have bitten her hands off. Maybe those catfish nibbled on them. I don't know.
Well, we're still seeing her in her ghost form too without hands.
Yeah.
So there's something about this Lady of the Lake story that is a little bit more sinister to me than I think that it's 1958. Like we can't, I was born in 1983. Like we can't, there's stuff we're never going to know, but I would be interested to hear from people like Caleb, if there's any ring-a-ding-ding, like red flags in the story that would scream something else other than what we've been taught. And if so, were they dumped in Lake Lanier, or was the car pushed into Lake Lanier? Because Lake Lanier is a portal. There is specific, because we know with these rituals the Luma Shmati do, that they pick particular areas for a reason. Does that make sense? I'm trying to be careful with words.
They do. Well, it's places of power and things like that. And I wonder if there's a ley line that goes through there. Actually, I'd like to pull up my ley line map when we talk about places like this. Let's see. Let's see here. Here's a ley line map. I mean, you may have to pull it up and like zoom in on it, everybody.
It looks like looks like a red line.
There's a red line that goes right through where Lake Lanier is actually.
Yeah. And
it goes
like
right through it. Too. It goes right through it. So if you guys are wondering where this is at, okay, let me pull up the map of Georgia again. There's literally a red line that goes right through right there or right beside it. Okay, that little red dot is where Lake Lanier is, y'all. And there is a ley line that goes right through it. Oh my gosh. You know what? So it's not only the Lady of the Lake, not only the people that are getting their feet grabbed and pulled under, a lot of bodies end up in this lake. A lot of people go missing. And you know, I do remote viewing. And when I don't remember what year this was, but I got a high priority target, Brice. And whenever I get a high priority target, I just get a set of coordinates. The head of my team will send me some coordinates. And when I know it's high priority, I sit down, I drop everything I'm doing, and I go into remote viewing mode. And I remote view those coordinates. Well, I was picking up on foul play. Let me go ahead and just state right now. The news says there was no foul play involved. I don't believe that. Okay. Because in my remote viewing data, I was picking up on I remember saying, like, I wrote down sonic blast or something. I can't remember exactly, but I wrote down a whole bunch of data, and I was like, okay, well, I was hearing like white noise and I was seeing water, and I drew what looks exactly like this. I'm going to show you a picture of I'm not going to show you my data, but I'll show you a picture of what I saw. If I can find my picture here. It is the Buford Dam, actually. I just pulled it up. Here it is. And I was hearing white noise, and I drew something that looks just like that. Just like that. And I was seeing a body, like someone had clearly been unalived. And I saw kind of how it happened. I saw that it was in a body of water, and I was right by a dam, and there was a recreational area, like with picnic tables and like I couldn't tell what I was looking at exactly, but it was like some kind of recreation area, I think, or entertainment area is what I wrote down, or a recreational area. And I even wrote at the very end, I was like, bloated body, and it's going to rise up near this recreational area. Okay. Like, it was in my data. And I later found out what that target was. I didn't know what it was. And it turned out it was this gentleman right here. And his name was Kelly Nash. And he was last seen on, I believe it was on a camera, walking down the road in the middle of the night in his pajama pants. Okay, in a jacket or a t-shirt or something, but he was walking down the road near where the Buford Dam is, kind of. But I think it was a month later, like he went missing, and there was no sign of him at all. And RIP, my condolences to his family. In case, I know we're in Georgia, so if anybody knows him, I'm very sorry for your loss. But this was given to me as a high priority target, and I kind of located almost to a T exactly where his body was, actually, and it was in Lake Lanier. And when they got the data, they were like, oh, I think this is the Buford Dam, is what they were saying. They're like, it does look like the Buford Dam. He's probably in the water. And I was like, yeah, its body's going to surface soon, and it's going to be bloated, and it's going to be near this area. And sure enough, that's exactly where it showed up, and where he showed up.
That's what I call a fancy death. I just want to be in my bed. Like, I don't want. And we had, I mean, that's an RIP. That makes it, when it's easy to talk about these stories, but when you see a face to the story, that's when it like hits you. And I would say, we had somebody ask, Lake Lanier is near I-85. That's an interstate that it's right off of I-85. And Caleb answered and said, when they cut the hands off, it prevents magic workers from finishing their spellcraft. That's fascinating. So, Jessica, you're my friend in real life, too. So if something happens to me, I want to be cremated anyway. But will you make sure, will you do me the honors of chopping my hands off before?
Chopping your hands off?
So that
I don't know about that. I will let someone know that is your final wish.
Can you just do that?
I can't promise you that I do it. I'll just go grab my meat cleaver.
I'll write it in my will. Like, just remove my hands before you just want to make sure. So he's removal of body part, anything in the afterlife to hinder anything. Okay, interesting. So that's see, that was weird to me, Caleb, and everybody else. Like, when you go off of I mean, unfortunately that happens, right? People sometimes drive, but they're drunk, they drown. But to have one of the women have her hands removed, like completely severed,
that is really odd. It is odd, and that her ghost is seen like that too.
Exactly. And this is one of their ghosts that are seen like that. That like, that is strange to me. Like, that does not seem normal to me. So, I mean, honestly, accidents can happen. Not everything has to be conspiratorial. Like, people can just drive off of a bridge drunken and end up drowning. Like that. But to have the hands, that's just weird to me. To have the hands removed, that is very strange to me. Very strange.
Now I'm gonna show a picture because I want to move on to something different after, because we just got a few more minutes. So let's do. Hold on. Let's see. Missing people. I'm gonna share my screen right quick. We'll see if you guys can see this. There, if you just go do a DuckDuckGo search or whatever, a Google search of all the missing people out of Lake Lanier, you guys, there's so many people that have drowned, gone missing, boaters who have capsized, and their bodies were never found. Okay, there's a good bit. Okay, I'm kind of moving quickly through this, so anyways, it's just something to take note of, and so I want everybody to please be careful. Please take heed if you ever go to Lake Lanier. It is super haunted and cursed, as they say. It's still, I mean, I don't want everybody to live in fear. Okay, don't live in fear. Go have some fun, but just be aware of your surroundings and stay away from Cocktail Cove. Okay, and or just watch for people coming out of Cocktail Cove. They've probably been drinking. Okay, and so that's a big thing out there. It's not fun to be out there at night too, on the lake.
That's when my boyfriend had his crazy experiences. Were mostly at night when he was just being a young hooligan and running amok with his like. And Jessica knows my boyfriend. He's not a hooligan anymore. He's very much settled into his 50s. He's in there carving right now. He's woodworking right now. But I definitely, there's a lot. I'm very weary of Lake Lanier. And do you know, Jessica, have you seen this? They're trying to build like roller coaster rides, like water rides on Lake Lanier, and everybody in Atlanta is like, WTF.
No, that's not safe. Don't do anything I wouldn't go out of my way to do something there that's.
No, do you know how many people hurt? Like, no, do not do that. Do not put any more contraptions on the lake that are going to take out more people. So yeah, people in Atlanta are like, there's all these funny TikToks of people being like, what are y'all doing? This is a notorious lake. What are you doing?
It's very notorious. I mean, there's so many strange areas of high strangeness in Georgia that, I mean, we never run out of content, do we, Brice? Neither of us. We can just cover Georgia all the time with all the weird. Exactly. I just did a show on an actual werewolf attack out of Rome. I mentioned you, actually. I mentioned you during that show.
Okay, I need to send you to. There's a Joe Rogan episode where a guy talks about all the satanic rituals done in Rome, Georgia.
Okay, and I think they were probably done where my friend Ed had his house, and his house burned down mysteriously. We never found him.
I mean, that's an interesting. They
rituals are going on out there, y'all, in Rome.
3 rivers in Rome that meet in Rome, and they have a private airport in Rome. It's a very wealthy town, and I'm starting to read questions because even Ryan, we got to go in a second. In Rome, before my family lived there, they did this vote to see if they want I-75 to go through Rome. Like, who wouldn't want the freeway to go by your town if you're a business person? But I think that those elections got rigged to isolate it so they could do more of their satanic magic. Rome is that is a crazy. I only go there if I absolutely have to. Otherwise, I do not set foot in Rome, Georgia. I will not do it. So, yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, that's, Ed used to tell us that the guy who owned the property around his would fly in all the elites once a year, and they would do, they'd ask him just to leave for the weekend and stuff, and because they were doing weird stuff on the property out there, and he didn't even want to know what they were doing.
Yeah, College.
I know where it's at. I could take
systems.
Yeah,
I know the berries, and in my opinion only, they are questionable people.
Oh gosh, for entertainment purposes only, y'all.
For entertainment purposes only. I know them, and they are fucking weird. They're not.
Oh my gosh.
They're creepy. I don't like dealing with them. They're creepy people. So. Okay. I said it, in my opinion, for entertainment purposes only.
I know. Oh my gosh. Well, let's get back before we have to go today. Let's talk about a couple of places that have, underground lost civilizations, I guess. And I say like lost civilizations because it's just, I don't know exactly what these were actually. This is under Lake Michigan or Lake Huron, I believe. And let me take that comment down. It looks kind of like Stonehenge, Brice.
I know. That's what I was actually.
Or maybe it was like a palace, like a Roman, architecture or something, because it looks like it's very, very old.
Yeah, they found roads. There are also roads under like the Pacific Ocean, yellow brick roads. This is wild. Well, Lake Norris, the lake up in Tennessee, they have the Isis temple. They drowned out the Isis temple.
That's right. So, well, we're getting to that one too. I've got pictures of that as well, and so it's like, well, why? Okay, if these, and I don't know, is Lake Michigan a man-made lake? I don't even know if it is or not.
So.
I didn't think so either. I didn't think so either, but it might be. I forgot to look that up before we went live. So,
I'll look it up right now.
But there's just so much history that's underneath all these lakes, and even the oceans too. By the way, okay, a lot of interesting things under our oceans, Okay, so there's that, and then we've also got Lake Norris. Okay, and I know I've talked about this a couple times, but I have Brice here now, and talking about ancient Egypt potentially being in the United States. Okay, Upper Egypt, right? Is that what they call it?
Well, so Tennessee translates to the land of Isis. So Asi, that's how they used to spell Isis. So like. The Essenes from the Bible, they were the priest and priestess of Isis. So why is Tennessee named the land of Isis? Now, what's interesting, I don't know if I've told you this, Jess. My boyfriend likes to go hiking, as we've been with Jessica many, many times, and he doesn't like to go on the trails that most people go on. So what he does is he likes to get old maps of old logging roads in North Georgia. And he got access to the University of Georgia's in Athens. He got access to their geological their department, basically. That's why he got into this. And it was wild. All of a sudden I hear him call me in a panic into the other room. And he's looking at this map from the 1800s of Northern Georgia. And he's like kind of like shaking. He's like, look at that. And I'm looking at it. He's like, what do you see? And it says Egypt.
There's an Egypt, Georgia, I think. Isn't there a town called Egypt?
It said Egypt all across, like where it would say Georgia, it said Egypt, and it was from the 1800s. It was a map from the 1800s from the University of Georgia's archives.
Whoa.
That he's supposed to pay for it, but I think he got a password from allegedly. And he was looking for old logging roads to hike on, and he was going through old maps. And he's a descendant of a pirate, so he loves his maps. He does love his maps. So on Lake Michigan, just so you guys know, while Lake Michigan itself is a naturally formed lake, and this is according to Google, so take this with a grain of salt, much of its shoreline and some aspects of its landscapes have been altered or created by human activities. For example, Chicago's entire Lake Michigan shoreline is man-made. The land was filled in to accommodate the Illinois Central Railroad. Additionally, there are man-made lakes near Lake Michigan, like Hamlin Lake, which was created by damming the Big Sable River. So Lake Michigan is natural, but they've done stuff to it. They've altered it.
Ooh, well, I mean, they could have like directed some, more water here and there just to make it bigger and deeper and gosh knows what, just to make sure this is good and covered up and nobody's ever going to find it. I mean,
don't worry, guys. The government loves us and they're just doing what they can to make our lives better.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah, right. Well, what gets me is like the Lake Norris in Tennessee. Okay. The Historical Society and the local universities around the area, they knew good and well there was an ancient Egyptian settlement there. Yeah. And now if you here's something really interesting. So today I was pulling up some articles. I went to Google. I'd already pulled it up on DuckDuckGo to get all my, pictures and stuff that I wanted to find. But then I went to Google just to see, like, if I pull up and I search the same thing in Google that I did on DuckDuckGo, am I going to get the same results? And guess what? All the articles that I could find were like, oh, it's all been debunked. This isn't true.
Right.
This was all, they just assumed it was an Egyptian settlement.
Us, guys. Just trust us. No. Just trust us.
Don't trust us.
No. Right. Like,
yeah. That's really terrible. Oh, I forgot to pull that up.
It's crazy. And the whole, the Norris Dam, I did a big show on the Norris Dam years ago, and the whole, it gets into the way that dam was built. There is so much just stinky stuff there with the government and different politicians. And they absolutely knew that they were drowning out this evidence. They absolutely knew. I think, it's wild. But Lake Norris, from what I know, I've been to Lake Norris. It's not as haunted as Lake Lanier. It seems like they don't have the craziness that Lake Lanier has.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
It's a little creepy out there too. Well, there's not as many people at Lake Norris from my experience from going to, because I've been to Lake Norris, I've been to Lake Lanier, and it's a big lake at Norris, but there's not as many people there. Now it may have changed. I haven't been since I was a kid. Okay, but nonetheless, so there was a British curator, named Rendell Harris, and I guess he's like an Egyptologist too, I guess, because he knew a lot about Egyptian settlements and things like that. And he was always convinced, he'd written that the Egyptians settled in North America. They came here way before Columbus ever did.
Oh,
okay,
sure,
and that was what he had been putting out. And I said they initially visited the Bahamas. They eventually moved to the Gulf of Mexico and then up the Mississippi River. Okay, just saying. He speculated that Egyptian traders took copper from the Americas back to the Mediterranean, and they established a large colony in East Tennessee, where I was going to say I just was there this weekend. Harley's in the chat. What's up, Harley? I was with Harley. He lives over in East Tennessee, in that area. And that's where Lake Norris is. Lake Norris is north, I think. It's a little more north.
It's right near Knoxville, where the university isn't it near Knoxville? Where
it must be. Yeah, I think it is actually. Lake Norris is in Knoxville.
He is in Knoxville. That's where my dad's dad is. The Watsons are from Knoxville, Tennessee.
Okay. Well, he knew good and well when he saw the pictures of this temple that I was showing. It's like the ruins of an ancient temple. He said that he knew that the stones had formed a square building, and that this had been formed over what they called the Hopewell era mound, and it looked kind of like a Mississippian earthen mound. Okay, like what we were told, these are all Indian burial mounds, right, Brice? That's what we call it. And he said, no, this is actually an Egyptian temple. It's got these two large boulders, like these two stones, and this is just how the Egyptians made their sites. Now they were talking about how these were found and so because they were excavating mounds, like what we would consider to be Indian burial mounds. So they decided to put this lake over these mounds. There were multiple mounds right there, full of all sorts of artifacts and bones. Some people speculated there were probably giant skeletons in these mounds as well. So they're covering up not only the ancient Egyptian temples, but also the giants.
The giants too. I mean, that was one of the most groundbreaking. That was one of the first big stories I did. I don't even think those videos are up anymore. But I was like, that's when I started to find. You guys, I will say, I know you got to get off soon, but if you ever want really interesting reading, I'm not going to say, listen to my code, the Smithsonian. The
Smithsonian. I say it. It's okay.
Okay. Because they like got me for this. There's some lawsuits that have been filed against the Smithsonian pertaining to them getting rid of evidence. And those lawsuits there's a lot of that. Thank you, guys. Brice is a pretty savage history buff. Thanks. I just listen.
You are.
I'm petty. I'm a petty Betty. And so if I'm pissed off, I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna talk about it. So and it just makes me mad. When I started reading these lawsuits pertaining to the giant bones, I was like, WTF? They are literally openly lying to us in these lawsuits.
Yeah.
Thank God we have Freedom of Information Act and we can actually see these lawsuits that have been filed against the Smithsonian.
That is fantastic too. Well, it gives us some proof that they're having. We already know that they've been doing that. And Gerald says, hey Gerald, he says Midwest Night Watchers says Southern Illinois is called Little Egypt, especially the Cahokia Mounds area.
In Illinois, so this whole area, if you guys aren't familiar with the United States, if you just look at the United States map, so all these areas that we're talking about, they're different states, but they're all this big geographical. So it's not like Illinois is on the other side of the country, right? It's like they're all there together.
Yeah.
So.
The Mississippian mound culture. Okay. They're just a bunch of Egyptians out there. I don't know. It's just wild. It's like, what is going on here? And so they went and so in December of 1933, the Tennessee Valley Authority convened at a conference in Knoxville with several university representatives and other governmental agencies for the purpose of planning a survey of Native American sites that were to be inundated after the Norris Dam was completed. Okay. And let's see, let me turn the page. There's some pretty good information here. And I think that it's important that we talk about it quickly because I got to go in just a few minutes to go get my kid. But it says the chairman of the University of Kentucky's Department of Anthropology and Archaeology and the chairman of the university's physics department, all the excavation work was carried out by students supervised by them at these universities. So they excavated these mounds. And then it said they identified 23 sites in the area that soon became the bottom of a series of lakes created by the dam. Now, why on earth? I mean, if these are historical landmarks, why would they just wipe them out like that? I mean, I know we need water.
Take our history from us. Like, listen, you little narcissistic psychopaths. Like, that's not yours to take from us. So I hope these lakes are curses, and I hope they're supposed to go after. I hope they're going after the people that drowned them out. Like, I support that ghost adventure. Like, you go get the dead people. You go do your thing with those people who stole you, that took you out. So
it's wild. It's just wild. I mean, they say that one mound, the Irvin Mound, had a row of 10 standing stones, most of which were about 2 to 4 feet in height. Adjacent to the line standing stones was the remains of a rectangular building formed by cedar posts. Inside the rectangular building was another line of small stones. Oddly, a copper coin button and bead were found at a depth of 18 inches inside another structure under an adjacent mound. And I don't know. It's just really sad that all this has been covered up, but you got to wonder why. I think that we know why. It's not only, I mean, it's multifaceted, like I said in the very beginning. We do need power. We do need water because we don't have free energy anymore. So they had to dam up all the currency, the natural currency of Mother Nature that we have. They had to dam it up so they could monetize it, right? I'm just saying this is for entertainment purposes only. And they had to cover up our history in the process. We didn't know what we had before. And now we had to pay for what we got. And we are slaves to the system, as they say. And so maybe just maybe we can make some changes and maybe get back to the way it's supposed to be one day. I don't know. What do you think?
lost the comment. Somebody said golf courses are also covering up mounds. That gave me like this shiver down my spine because there are
mounds
in Atlanta, like in the middle of Atlanta. There's like these random golf courses. So I need to look more into that. Thank you for whoever put that comment in because that was interesting. You know, Jessica, I will say, I know you got to go soon, but somebody said to me once, and I keep thinking about this. After all the stuff is being revealed, somebody said to me, I would not be surprised if one day we learn that Christopher Columbus sailed from America and discovered Europe.
Oh my God. Wouldn't that be something?
Actually,
oh my gosh. I love the way you think outside the box, Brice.
Well, that was somebody else that said that to me. And I was like,
well,
you know, wouldn't shock me at this point either. At this point, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
This unacknowledged and unknown says, I've done several talks about the mound builders culture. I have several research in the TVA and featured mounds I discovered. Oh, that's very cool. Tennessee Valley Authority is what that is, y'all. The TVA. And you know, I don't know if they thought they meant well by doing that. I mean, it can't be any kind of historical society. I mean, they go out of their way to preserve landmarks and stuff. How on earth could they thought that was a good idea?
I think there are a lot of good-hearted people in these organizations, and they think they're doing good. But I think the people at the top of these organizations know that they're using good-hearted people. So yeah.
Well, they just don't. Maybe they just didn't know what they were getting themselves into. I don't know. I just feel like it's just a bigger picture. We're uncovering so much deception and manipulation. Why would this not fall in line with all of that?
Exactly. 100%.
I don't know. I think it's great to look into it. Brice, thank you for being here with me today. Talk about it.
People too. The Moonite people live in this area as well. Are there Moonite things under Lake Lanier?
Ooh, it could be. Well, Caleb did say that the Chicana, the underworld, could have been, covered up by these lakes as well. Like entrances to some of these inner earth areas could be covered up.
Moonite people just vanished overnight. I mean, the Cherokee did say they slaughtered them. They schmurdered them, as we say, but they were just gone. Like the ones that were left just disappeared. So, this is crazy. It's just the more we learn, the less we know.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. Oh, Dennis says a lot of burial places lie under subdivisions. I know. That's where we get the movie Poltergeist from. Yeah.
All I know is that when I pass away one day, cut my hands off so nobody can use me for anything and then burn my body. That's all I want. Do not throw me in a box in the ground. Please don't. Just get rid of it. I'm done.
Oh my gosh. Gerald says 13 major mounds were destroyed when cities were formed. Big Mound in St. Louis was one of the biggest mounds next to Cahokia. Wow. Well, yeah, it's really sad that we've just been building on top of our history and everything's just kind of been lost there. But we can tap into, into our go within. Okay. Go within and really tap into to our true nature. And and that's the importance also of like oral tradition and stories being passed down, because books can be destroyed. Okay, books, our history, landmarks can be destroyed, obviously, but the light within us can't. Okay, I mean, I guess it can, but just keep.
We take that power back. We hold that power. Yeah. We hold that sense of self, that sense of, and I just, the more though, we can get sad about this and frustrated, but it's kind of comical in a lot of ways because like they look like such idiots now, like we can see you, like Aluma Shmati, we can see you. We can see you.
We can see. We know y'all are in the chat sometimes trying to throw us off. We know. We see y'all.
You haven't stopped us yet, and we look way cuter than you do. So you
oh
guys
my gosh, totally. And actually, I have the best. You do too. We all have the best chats on the internet. Okay, going.
I know
and, the best people, and I love it. We've got people here. They're happy to see us together on this show today. So thank y'all for being here. That's so sweet, everybody. We do have a lot of fun.
I was telling a friend today about you, and I was like, Jessica's great. She wears a cameo. She goes out and she hunts, and she's always got a red lipstick on. And I love that. It's like our lipstick on.
Yeah, I try to have a little bit of lip gloss on or something. When I'm out in the field, I don't. That's
I mean,
why
my
I
mom
stay away
also
from cameras out in the woods, y'all. I don't get a whole lot of it. If somebody's got a video camera out, I run. Okay,
Yep.
because yeah, I try to be presentable, and it's hard to be presentable when you got mosquitoes up your nose and in your
We're
mouth, and you're sweating,
sober.
and your mascara's running down your face.
My mama always told me you don't leave that house without some mascara and some lipstick on. So we might be hunting Bigfoot and trying to find the truth, but we're always going to have our lipstick on. So,
But I got some powder on my face and some mascara and a little bit of lip gloss. Okay, and even when it's pouring down rain. But that's why y'all don't see a lot of pictures of me out in the field. Okay, and definitely no videos. There was a fella out there this weekend that had he was videoing, and I actually ended up leaving before he got there. So thank goodness, thank God. Okay, so but. I know. Well, this has been so fun today, Brice, and I think this was an important show. I think this is we put out some really good information today. Where can everybody find you? Tell the audience about your YouTube channel.
On the YouTubes, Esoteric Atlanta on the YouTubes. I've also got the Rumbles as well. Sometimes YouTubes don't like what we talk about, so sometimes we're forced to go over. I also have the Esoteric Academy, which is where I do a lot of my studies from India, which is the shadow work, finding yourself. But we do have a free page on the Esoteric Academy where we put a bunch of our more scandalous shows on that as well. So you always have a place that you can go to find the more scandalous shows. I know I want to bring you back on my channel soon too, because I got some stuff that I want you to present on my channel too, Jessica. So
okay, cool. Well, we have a lot of fun doing these remote viewing targets too. If you ever got something, what did we do? We did the Mara one, and
we've done Moonite. I think we did the Moonite people on Gnostic. We've done. I had you do some unsolved mysteries from people that. Yep.
Those are always. I love the missing persons ones too. Those are always fun. So I mean, I hate it that they're missing people. I don't mean it like that, but I enjoy getting to do remote viewing targets like that too. So yeah, we've got more work to do, girlfriend.
Give people closure that way, so and that's the people left behind or what need to know what happened to their loved ones. So yeah, girl. And we want to do more on the road stuff too. So
heck yeah. Well, maybe we'll have us a girls trip. Maybe we'll go up and see Derek.
We need Derek. Yeah, we need to go to the Bell Witch and do everything. So
yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for being here, Brice. This has been awesome. Y'all, please go over to Esoteric Atlanta and on Rumble and YouTube and subscribe. Okay. And give Brice some follows and some subscribes and some likes. And please come back and see me, Brice. And
for sure, girl. Anytime you're welcome. And I can't wait to have you on my channel again too. You're welcome there anytime. And your audience is awesome here. I'm watching this chat, and you guys are so freaking cool. I think we have just a little group of weirdos, and I love it. I love
weirdos unite. That's right.
We're all weirdos, and I love it.
We are. Oh my gosh. Well, everybody have a wonderful day. You guys, please, like Jane said in the chat a while ago, keep your vibrations high, y'all. And please be careful if you go to any of these lakes. It doesn't matter if it's man-made or not. Just be careful out there. And but go have fun. Don't live in fear. Keep your head on a swivel. I always say the same thing just about every time. Keep your head on a swivel, because we're living in weird times. And be aware, do your own research, everybody, of these lakes and get to know your history where you live as well, and really dig into it, because history is not always what we've been told and what we've been taught. And if you want to learn more, go over to Brice's channel and go through my archives as well, and you can learn some stuff. Maybe we're all figuring out together. We don't know. I don't know nothing about nothing. Okay.
Nope.
But we're having fun talking about it.
It's all for entertainment.
All for entertainment purposes only. That's right. All right, Brice. Well, everybody have a great day, and I will see you guys back here on Wednesday at 1 p.m. on A Glitch in the Matrix. Be there or be square, y'all. And I've got a great remote viewing target for you guys on Thursday as well. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all on Wednesday. See you, Brice.
Bye, guys.